Sacrifice must do so much trying to survive. Ilondoloze Sungangishilana Tomaka emo wuru Oti wuru si wuru Emi won wa mi ni guru Tojuku oju wuru Ni heritage suru Time si mi solu Láti ọ̀rọ̀ sí gbòòrò Now to Ikorodu.
Ilondoloze Ilondoloze Sungangishilana Dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
Jerusalem, Itayalami, Ilondoloze, Ambenami, Ungangishi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this conversation. I want to thank so much the early risers. Thank you for keeping to time. As you know, our practice, we do our best to keep to time so we can respect everybody's time, mostly because our audience is so diverse. There are people who it's almost bedtime for them. There are people who, and when I say people, I mean both my staff that are working on it and people who are listening, right? I'm from Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, it's past midnight. So there's such a variety of timing that we do our best to keep to time. So thank you very much for joining. I'm sure you already know my name is Fiji Adum. I'll be your host today, and I'll be talking with two gentlemen that you absolutely want to listen to. I really planned to dance today. Like, even the way I was dressed, my plan was to dance. But to blame it on Adejo, I don't know what happened. That music was not working. Otherwise, I was really, really ready to break it down with Bonner Boy today. But then, how are you guys? I trust you're all well. A little housekeeping before we get started. We all know already what this is about. We know why we are here. So there's not going to be much talk. We're already 9 minutes in, and every second of this conversation today is going to be so valuable that I don't want us to waste it. Okay, the people that are speaking with us today are people that people would pay thousands of dollars to sit down with, to pick their brain, to listen to them already. So I hope you appreciate the blessing of today, and we want to also celebrate them for doing this at no cost to you guys. If the speakers had placed a cost on it, I would have transferred the cost to you. So be very appreciative, be very attentive. One instruction from here today could change everything for you. I always make fun of my Christian friends. I'm like, many times people think it's only one word from God that can change your life. One word from God can change your life, but there are also instructions. There's information that you come in contact with and changes everything. So you could be listening to that today. Well, welcome on the stream, guys. In a very few short seconds, I'm going to bring our first guest in. Adejo, if you can help me with his profile, I'm going to read it out. I'm going to boast about him because there is a ton of things to boast about. More often than not, people boast about people they know, their relatives. I boast about every entrepreneur. I'm like, can you check out this young man? Look what he's doing. Because I'm just so excited when I see people doing things that are changing the world, right? Fantastic. Sorry, I was just reading the notes from my team. So this is one of the people I'm really excited about. We've never met in person, but just when he got recommended, when I went through his profile, saw what he was doing, so you would think he's my brother or someone really close to me. But for me, it's just exciting when I see people express their creativity. You know why? Because it is evidence. It is proof that you can do it, I can do it, any other person can do it. So it just excites me. If you do not put up his profile, I'm going to have to read out of my phone. Guys, I need... Fantastic. Thank you. See what they're doing to me? I guess I should have had another copyright. Well, thanks to technology, we've all become lazy and we just wait on technology to do everything for us. But the first guest today is going to talk more on the investing side of real estate. And we do want to listen to him. Let me stop relying on my people and I will read from... I expect Mr. Damilare's profile to be up right now. Thank God for the phone. Thank you. Can we keep it that way? So for now, guys, Damilare Oshokoya is one of Africa's top rising entrepreneurs. I don't know why they added rising, but he is the co-founder, I guess because he's still going places, right? He's the co-founder of Abode. Abode is one of Africa's first asset co-ownership platform. And what they do is they allow two or more people to grow wealth by owning fractions of an appreciating or income-producing assets. I love it. As pioneers in this field, let me just say a quick note about that. We all realize, right, there are things you want to invest in, but you just are not able to. You can't even buy, possibly one can be an investor who can't even afford one share of Apple. So the other investment opportunities like that, and that's the problem they are solving. So as pioneers in this field, Abode is a movement for Africans home and abroad. For other people, really, but because I focus a lot on Africans, that's why I put Africans here. But it's a worldwide movement. There, anyone can invest because for more often than not, when you don't want to invest in a country you're not familiar with, your fear is the security of it, right? And so many assignments that they've done for you already. Now, home and abroad. And their goal is to help you grow your wealth together in a secure, seamless, and scalable environment. So, in a nutshell, their goal is the democratization of asset ownership. I love it when you can put your vision in 2 sentences. It is so nice. So it's democrat. I'm a teacher. I teach entrepreneurship in school, so forgive me if I'm falling in love with a few words here. So, in a nutshell, their goal is the democratization of asset ownership for all Africans and friends of Africa. He's also the author of Biology Guide, and 5 lucky attendees will get away with vouchers to purchase copies of this book at the end of the event, and we'll randomly pick you out. So, guys, I hope you're ready. I hope you've got your pen and your paper. That's my jotter. That's the size of my jotter. That's how ready I am to take notes today. That's how ready I am to take notes today. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. If you have not, if you don't have something to write, if you did not think you need to take notes, you will, even though it's here. But I think scientists have said that your brain can remember what you write down is more remains concrete, like 7 times stronger with you than what you hear. So I encourage you to get something to write. Take notes. We'll take a short music interlude, and our team will bring up. He's excited. I am excited. Like this event is like it for me because I'm so excited. I'm so ready to learn. I bet you. This is all I needed in 2023. If you haven't, get your writing materials. I'm sure you've had enough time to do that. And guys, I'm about to bring on Mr. All right, I'm ready for him. And Mr. Damilare is en route. I don't know who has been. How many of you on this call have been in Lagos? If you have, you understand when I say en route in Lagos. So he had to make a stop in his car just to be with us and to give us this. So you're welcome, Mr. Damilare. Let's see how you sound coming from your car.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. You sound great.
Oh, glory to God. Thank you, and thanks for this opportunity. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, everyone from anywhere in the world that you can hear us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Damilare. We are primarily people from 4 different parts of the world. But of course, I can't count, but I just know what our followership is about. But people with the same interests, and that's why this community, we sincerely appreciate this opportunity coming from you.
Thank
and
you.
I'm going straight ahead because I've lost a lot of minutes already. Can you tell us, Shokoya, what was it like growing up? Can you point anything in your upbringing that has brought you to the place where you are today? The entrepreneur that's not just an entrepreneur doing what everybody's doing, but able to toe a line that most people would not dare, because you're like, it's just that, yeah, but you're approaching it from a different angle. You're pioneering something in an economy that is considered unstable. Can you tell me, because I have 3 children and I would like to get some things right, is there anything in your upbringing that you think prepared you for where you are today?
Okay. Before I jump right on our questions, I would like to say thank you for the invite. Thank you for allowing us share homegrown African entrepreneurship story with fellow individuals. I think it's a great thing you're doing. I know we've not met in person. I love the work, and the credibility came with that, and also it was validated. Thank you. I do not like to be in front of cameras and sharing stuff like this. I have my reservation, especially when it has to do with Nigerians in the diaspora. Knowing well that we have the danger of the single story of anything that has to do with African entrepreneurs. So it's just important for me that we do the best that we can do to change that narrative. But I would not like to impress it on people. until they encounter something different. But thank you for that amazing work that you're doing. Thanks for still showing that light that there's something, an amazing work. And I respect works like this. Like my usual custom is, it doesn't have to be popular, it just has to be impactful. It's not about the numbers. You will have people who in 10 years will be talking about the testimony and they will say thanks for the encounter under this platform. For me, that's all that matters. It doesn't have to be 1 million people, just a life is enough. And that can translate into generations and into generations. So great work to you and your team. I'd like to say thank you to that. Yes. For my story, and then everything that led to entrepreneurship, I think it started with mom. I grew up in Abeokuta, Ogun State, and I don't want to use the word I was forced. I love the local market, which is it was the normal local market, open market, where trading happens like it's real life. I love it, but she wanted, she didn't like that experience for a young boy like me. She had the feeling that that environment could, had a negative impact on me. But what I like about it is the ability to speak to different people every day and give them a reason why they need to get something that they left their house in the first place that they need. It's like it's very funny. Someone will leave the house to say, "Okay, I'm going to get a trolley in the market," and we still have to convince you on why we have to be the one to sell the trolley to you. So I found that fascinating. Different class of people, elderly people, young people, teenagers, and it all started from there. And then the next thing was, I just felt a little bit of I like this whole thing that things can be different. So I'm always trying to push things differently. Um, always trying to. Am I still audible? Oh,
Very audible.
oh, so yeah, I think it all started from there. Then yes, I got into the university, and I was bored. I was bored. I think in penultimate. I can't remember. Yeah, penultimate. I was just bored, for no reasons. I was not a great student. Neither was a bad one. I just felt like there should be more. So I had a friend of mine, and I don't like to go into this whole story, who would always come to me and talk about things that doesn't have to do with classroom. If you're asking things around, the Nigerian economy, things that usually average students will not talk about. We're not talking about lecturers, we're not talking about exams. And I always be showing, speaking up, speak about strategy, speak about ideas. Then one day I was walking off campus, in maybe another period, and I saw this guy making a presentation. He was wearing suits. He usually is not the kind of guy that will wear suits, right? And he was presenting to a team of people. And all the students that came out, all of them, I won't say the truth, they were all wearing suits. Students don't wear suits on campus, and they're using tie. So I fell in love, and then I joined them, and I found out that it was a social enterprise organization called an Actors, and I grew via the ranks. A year later, I became the president of that association, and then from there, and I love working with that. I started traveling across Nigeria, representing the university, everything that has to do with entrepreneurship. Yeah, and I started making money, and I love it. So after that, that exposure, bettered the first idea to me that I was not in school to get. I didn't learn any. I wasn't learning anything. Literally. So after youth service, I started working multiple jobs. Great. Just wanted to make money until I went to Covenant University. I was in Covenant University, and I felt like, what? This is different kind of education. As in, I loved the institution so much, and what they were doing that I rejected the banking job and told my mom that I'm the only son out of two, just me and my sister. And I told her that I was going to volunteer at the Department of Entrepreneurship. So I went there. Fortunately, I was able to find, a senior friend who was lecturing there at the time, and I told him that I've come here to come and volunteer at the Department of Entrepreneurship. I went there, I pitched myself, and it looks like they're looking for somebody that was just going to be jobless to come and do something. So I got the offer, non-paid, and I was there for 4 months, 4 months and 3 weeks actually. Until one day I got a call to the registrar's office and the vice chancellor's office. Yeah, the registrar's office, and they asked that you've been here, you're not collecting pay. I was working from 8 to 2 p.m. A.m. actually. I resume 8, I'll close by 2 a.m. I love the campus. I've never seen electricity 24/7 like that. So I had a lot of things I wanted to do, and there was free internet. So I was always working, and I was preparing the students for social enterprise related. That's why I don't like to go into the story. It was interesting, and so from there, I was working, and I love it. I was very passionate about it. And they asked, like, okay, what exactly was your goal? And I shared my dream with them. I just wanted an institution that would not only be churning out graduate with certificates. I want a place where people can come out with business. That they would say, "Oh, I started my business on campus, and the school is funding me." And they're like, "Okay, we wanted to meet one of our graduates who just got his PhD in innovation entrepreneurship." Long story cut short, we created. I didn't know what a startup incubation was. I literally read it from Harvard to MIT to Oxford. I spent three next months doing that. And then we created the first university startup incubation that was going to help students start their businesses on campus, get access to funding. The chancellor, Bishop Depo, gave us 50 million naira to run. That was a lot of money. I've never had that kind of money in my life to use for like 4 years, right? And that was where the whole journey started. I started there, rebuilt the university entrepreneurship curriculum for vocational training, all those soap making, to studying literally tech businesses. I was fascinated with technology at that time. It was the early boom days. And then so we started the incubation program, begin to get attractions from here. And we're able to build something really important. Today I have many of those young folks across Europe who are either leading a tech company, working in a tech company, and whenever they're calling back, whether they're in London Business School, they're in said business school, and they're saying, Mr. Dami, thanks for that opportunity. The truth of the matter is that all these things were learned just by studying on the internet, but because I love entrepreneurship as a word. So from there, fast forward, my friend called me. He worked for a real estate company, and he had told me that they were starting. I hope this story is not too long. Jesus.
Let me give you 2 more minutes to end it, because
I'll hand it in one. I will hand it in one. So what got me back into real estate in itself was that I'd gone to visit my friend, and he said, "Oh, they're starting an entrepreneurship school for small scale businesses that he wanted me to help to consult on how they can go about this in Lagos." So I'd come in and I was consulting for them for like 3 months. But anytime we were speaking, I just like the kind of numbers he calls when it comes to real estate. I think numbers were great. I'm like, what kind of margins are you guys making from, hundreds of millions, billion at that early time? And, I wanted to know what exactly they were doing. Then I found out that they were not using technology. So I made a proposal to the management on how we can infuse technology into what they are doing. And that's how my journey into real estate started. So my love started with entrepreneurship, the focus on using technology to leverage businesses. And then I found money in real estate. I want to be honest about that. So it was money that took me to real estate. And that was that's how it all started. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to ask for I can see YouTube, at least 153 people. I'm going to ask them to support me in asking you to come and tell us something more about following your passion, because your story is just so interesting. But unfortunately, people want to hear about real estate today. So I took a couple of things. The first lesson I learned is that moms are great because it's time with mom. I also learned that I also find interesting, but I don't have time to ask you about that. You're not learning anything in school. I love that part, and I'd love to, go deeper into it, but let's leave it for another session. And then there's the volunteerism, the fact that you didn't only volunteer to work, but you would work hours that people that are being paid wouldn't even work. I found that very impressive, but I think those are footprints of success. So when I see people who have been successful at something, I like to say, what did they do? There are a number of things, but let's do it. So I just want to give you the next 5 to 10 minutes to educate us. 2023 is here. A ton of people want to invest. A lot of us, I want to. I want to invest in my country because I know I'm coming back home. I'm sojourning in the US briefly, but I know I'm coming back home. So I'm interested in that. I want to, and real estate is a thing for me because I'm not a real estate investor, but my family. So I'm not educated in real estate, but my family is into real estate. So that's really important to me. So I want to just give you the opportunity to tell us what my abode does. What someone who wants to do business with you, someone who's interested in real estate or investing generally, what they can derive. How do you answer the questions? You already know the questions everybody who wants to invest in Nigeria have. Both those in Nigeria, but especially those living outside because they are wondering, I'm not even there, So can you talk about the miracle called My Abode and what services you render?
Okay, so thank you very much. My abode, started from a gap. I think a real problem. I was in real estate for a little over 4 years, and like I said earlier in the conversation, I played a lot of things around, digitizing the way transactions work when it comes to real estate. I know one of my first projects was real estate investing, crowdfunding. So the company I'd worked for had been in the industry for 10 years. And majorly they raise funding, project funding from HNIs. These are high network individuals, in Canada, Nigerians in Canada, and so on. But these are just like a small handful of people who could do a chunk from 100 million, hop for the naira as a way. And I had seen an opportunity in the market that's at that point where I feel like the average Nigerian can also participate, even just with $100, sorry, equivalent, sorry, 100,000 naira, or 50,000 naira, to participate in real estate. So I've built a technology to do that. And basically, what were they doing? They were investing in projects, a real estate project, and the company that promised guaranteed returns. And these were projects who were doing great margins. And some of those projects went as high as doing 300%, which I'll talk about that later in the conversation. 300%, 250%, and some of them after expense and operations and everything used to be around 180, 156%. And these individuals were promised 50% in 18 months. Now, for an average Nigerian, there are two kind of micro investors that I've been fortunate to experience in this part of the world. There are those who have the software. Pardon me, they have the software of Ponzi scheme in them. They are micro investors, but they are looking for they like Ponzi scheme kind of software, but they have the front end look. I'm using technological time of I'm also looking for safe investment. It's like someone saying, "Oh, I have this 200,000 naira, or this 500, or this million that I want to invest, but I'm looking for a returns of 100% per hour." And he's still asking the person who wants to give the money to that, say, "Are you sure that I'm going to get my money back?" Like that kind of a thing. I've seen a lot of that. So when people hear 50%, it took a lot of education, and I know we had to do a lot of that. Because people, and that's the first thing when it comes to investing, never invest in what you don't understand the business model. You need to know how the money is going in, who is paying for it, and how it's coming back. As in the entire business model, you need to understand it. That gives you an advantage of it to validate that there is really something here, right? And what we did was the crowdfunding. So people were crowdfunding, and to the glory of God, with a sense of humility, we had Nigerians in diaspora now. So I don't say people from. We had Nigerians in diaspora from I think it was 8 countries that participated in that era. Were able to do figures in billions. I don't want to talk about that into those projects. So literally, what we would have raised from institutional investors or HNIs, as we call them, high network individuals, micro investors, the young person who is a youth core member, the entry level lady working, were able to participate, and that was first. So when we begin to, that was what I saw that there is potential. There is a lot of people who are interested in real estate, but entry accessibility was the first problem. The second part of it is also that when we're doing projects, it's only majorly people who could buy projects of 10 million, 5 million, 25 million, 40 million that could participate. Meaning that if you cannot even do the ownership of the project, of the asset, sorry, in quote, you cannot also do the ownership. So basically what our board came to solve was as first accessibility. But this time, people are not going to be having access only to invest in projects. We're combining that you can access the same project. In the first instance that I was given the previous projects that we've done a couple of years ago, pre-COVID era, is that people were only crowdfunding to invest in projects that they were not direct owners. So meaning that they only enjoy the guaranteed returns that have been promised by the brand. So even when we end up making about 300 or about 256, they only get the fraction of the 50% that have been guaranteed to them. So when we solved that gap, with myself, with my partner, who has been my friend since, my partner that used to ask me questions then, we graduated together, did a couple of things together. He's been in real estate for 7 years. It's still the same friend back from there till now. So we've been together for a very long time. And then we came together and started this. The journey was to help small holders, income earners, middle and low income earners participate in the prosperity of real estate. And you said that earlier, we're actually democratizing the prosperity, the wealth that is embedded in real estate. The conversation here today will not be about, is there wealth in real estate? If that's what we want to start with, we need a masterclass for that on itself. Investing in Nigeria or investing home is not patriotism, it's business. There's a part of you can be patriotic in your mind in one place. If you're patriotic, you not only be praying for us to come and involve yourself in politics. Investing back at home is not, it's not patriotism, it's business for you. And the same thing, you can do it in any place in the country. One of the things I used to say about real estate, and which is fundamental, is that is an asset, is a channel, is a vehicle for wealth growth that is sustainable and can be used anywhere in the world on planet Earth today. The only place that I cannot advise you to use real estate as a form of wealth creation or wealth growth is countries that are in war. That's the only place where real estate will likely not rise. Because the beauty about real estate is that it has stability potential. Vis-a-vis all other vehicles that we use in real estate, you use in asset management. So what are we doing at our board? What we're doing at our board is to say, we're helping you to, number one, you don't have the expertise. We would help you to search for prime assets anywhere in Africa, starting with Nigeria. Prime assets are assets that has the potential for capital appreciation and rental income. They are assets that you would acquire, and in 8 months you're already smiling to the bank. You can even be writing your will for your next generation. Those are prime assets. Yeah, and we've seen a couple of that, right? And there are assets that you would have that it will require long suffering. Long suffering means that you need to, it's not endurance, it's not patience, you will acquire long suffering. Those are the kind of assets that
I've been a witness or a victim.
okay. These are the kind of, and you can do that bit on say, I'm from Ife, I'm from Akwa Ibom State, and they're my village. We need to, and you just go to your village. Then there's land and an estate in the city. Just leave your village. Your village is the hand of God. Don't worry. You can do other things. Maybe like when you make profits on that project, you can go and do non-profit work and NGO related work in your village. There's nothing wrong with that. So there are projects that, there are prime projects who it's just like the same thing that happened in the stock market. You will not buy a stock of a company because the guy is my friend. We're in the same, he's from my country. So this company is started by an Indian, and because of that, and the company is not doing well, you just go and buy their stock. That's not business. That's just you being, emotionally connected. You will buy companies that has, the right metrics of growth that you've seen, and that's what we're doing for people. So many Nigerians in diaspora are on this platform. Even Nigerians that are in Nigeria, who are, they're busy with their day-to-day work. They don't have an understanding of the market, and we have, a shared 16 years of experience in this market. And we've done this project from selling vacant lands to service lands to housing projects to commercial housing to residential housing to resort projects. We've been privileged, to be able to do that in major cities in Nigeria. The last project we did is in 6 states in Nigeria. And that understanding is there. It's a Pan-African understanding of what kind of projects should you put your money in. So the first thing that we're doing for you when it comes to what we're doing at Abode is that we're bringing to you, we're helping you to take that professionalism to find only prime assets that have the potential for capital appreciation, huge capital appreciation. The next thing is that we're managing the assets. So you don't want to have a service apartment. Let's put in context there, a 3-bedroom, and you have 4 of them, maybe with your friends. You don't have to worry about when is the tenant moving in, how's the apartment being managed. We manage that entire process for you. The last process is, which is the part that I like and I know that you love, is that we also ensure that we have an infrastructure that ensure that your earning is from time to time. So it means that when tenants are moving in, you are getting earning. And this earning is not only for you, it's for all the co-owners. So in this way, you don't only have an opportunity of co-owning with like minds of people, you also have avalanche of assets and properties that you can invest in. It means that you can have lands in the Federal Capital Territory, that's the capital of the country. You can have houses, in major cities, in major parts of Lagos. You can have in Calabar, where the Hoi boom thing is happening, with expatriates always looking for nice accommodation and so on and so forth. So, in summary, what we're doing at our board is to help micro investors who want to participate in the prosperity of real estate. We say you don't have to have all the capital. We'll bring in a community of people together who can build their wealth with fractional ownership of prime, capital appreciating, and rental income, rental producing assets here in Africa, starting with Nigeria. Thank you.
Fantastic. My head is just exploding with questions. Yeah, but I am getting, and I was just saying to my friend, I said I didn't go to detailed research on Abode. I just, did the primary things to ensure the integrity and the system. I saw that what you guys had in place definitely works. But so for everybody listening, my mind is being blown as much as yours is being blown. Like it's happening to me live right now. And okay, so I'm trying to digest it. But while we're on that, and before we welcome questions, I think one thing we need to talk, you've really expounded on it, gives us better understanding, because like you said, you don't understand the system and you invest in it, you're already at risk, right? But the question I like to ask now is, what is the process working with Abode? What is for people who are either home or abroad? Is there a difference? How do you start? You go to a website, get set up. What would you say is the process from indicating interest to, ownership? What does that look like?
Okay. First, I forgot to mention. I said earlier, I love technology. So the entire process is digitized. It makes life easier. Sorry. It also makes the system to show that it's transparent. And I love the power of technology because it's sustainable and it's scalable. So everything happens on the platform. Okay, thank you so much. Some things were coming in to distract me. So everything is on the platform. What we've done is, the number one is, I want to make it clear to the listeners here that what we do is that we're sort of a marketplace. So literally, we don't own those lands, neither do we own those houses. will work with verified developers in the country. The least of them must have done at least 5 years with proven records in the country. They must belong to all the right regulations. They must have all the right approvals. Then we'll work with them. When we work with them, meaning that we go and take the prime assets that they have and then list it on our platform for the community people to enjoy. So when you get to the system, for example, now, and you go to the product explore page, you will see as many projects as possible. Many of them right now are in major cities. And there are 3 reasons for that. Number 1 is the growing population in those cities, because it's one of the indications of a good project that will do well. A growing population in those cities. Number 2 is that the rate of infrastructural development in many of those socioeconomic cities in Nigeria, and there are just a few of them, and that's why we've chosen those ones. Number 3 is the historical background that shows the movement of the population. As there are major projects coming on, many of them move from one place to the other, and then we have positioned for those things. So when you get on the platform, you will see different projects. Each of those projects, you'll be able to read the information, full information on each of the projects. You'll be able to even see the historical data that shows the value appreciation of each of these assets and every other thing you would need to guide that, and even the title documents that help to prove the real ownership of these properties that are out there. So yes, they are there. The next thing you will do from there is, based on your need, like I said, is just think of it as the stock market for properties. Think of it as the stock market for assets, meaning like the way you go to get a Samsung shares, to get a Sony shares, to get a UBA shares, or whatever it is. You can go and diversify your fund. You could start with $100, and you can spread that. You can start with $1,000 or £500, and then just share it across in different of these assets. And then they all have different durations of earnings. Some of them have rental income potential, meaning that these are assets that you will own, that after like 6 months or 3 months, you can begin to earn quarterly. You can begin to earn biannually. You can begin to earn monthly. And we're still getting there where we can allow users to earn weekly, but we'll get there. So when you get there, you pick any of the products that you want based on your financial need and your financial plans. Some of them are as long as 3 years holding period. Some of them are in 1 year. Some of them are less than that. When you pick the product that you want and the units of the fraction that you want, you get the terms and conditions. So you have to read through it. Please try and read. We're running a very legitimate business here, and I know a lot of Africans don't read. You just click terms and conditions apply and just tick and move away. Please kindly read. This is a contract. Kindly read and read the instructions. And okay, if you have any questions for clarity, you can speak to our client support team. They are always there to always answer. And then when you make that, you could make payments for that. And when you make payments, you get all the rights documents, all the proof of ownership that you own this property. And then depending on the property that you're getting, there are properties that would have waiting periods. Waiting period is the duration at which you pay for a property and when the property is active for use. So let's say, for example, there's a property that will have somewhere not close to the Lagos International Airport. It's going to be running for a short-let apartment, meaning people can use it for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for a month. But right now, it's about 95% complete. It's set to be ready for March 2023. So the waiting period is between the day you paid and 2023 when it will be ready and it will begin to generate income. So once it's active, you now begin to generate income. All this income is also paid online. When people move in, people use the apartments through the technology, you can see all of that. And that's how it works. And then by monthly, quarterly, you begin to get updates on the assets that you have, in terms of what potential it has grown to, and so on and so forth. And that's how simple it is. It all starts from the technology and it ends up in your bank account. So you go to the system, pick what you want, explore, make payments for the units that you want, follow up on the development that is happening with it. And once active, you begin to get earnings either bi-monthly, either monthly, quarterly. It drops into your wallet. From your wallet, you can move into your bank account, commercial bank account. I know that right now, we've not been able to integrate our foreign payment platforms. I know we're still working on getting PayPal, so that those outside of the country who are non-Nigerians, because for Nigerians, many of them just have local commercial banks if their cards have not expired. And so we're able to pay into their local. But for those who, some persons that even been out of the country for about 30 years, they don't even have a bank account again. It was in the days of before BVN days that they used to have an account. So what we do is to, they can provide other third parties systems where we can pay their money to. But we run a very transparent financial integration system. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before I ask my next question, I was just thinking, I can imagine how many people like me are imagining, that's $100, that's $200. I just wasted away. I could have started putting together an investment portfolio. And that is why I love what you guys do so much. Because for me, my principal theme in life is this: I believe God has made all his children equal. Our systems have made things unequal. But what can I do to get people access to the same opportunities that others have? So when I see someone that's doing things like this, I mean, my heart just goes so thank you so much for what you guys do. I am blown away. Now I'm learning more.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You,
much.
you did mention that you hadn't started you're working on integrating PayPal. Do you have a timeline for people who don't have anyone they can trust to say, oh, I can use a third party account, and they're wondering, do you have like a horizon, or looking at the possibility of that?
Okay, and whoa, what happened? Am I still here?
You're here, we can see you, we can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. I think I'll just go and sorry, it was a notification that distracted me there. Okay, great. We're looking at our March Q1 of 2023. Because apart from that, we're also improving on our user experience. I love technology. I hate poor user experience. I don't want people who are coming from different parts of the world who have used very sophisticated technology to come, and I'm looking like the way the situation of the country is looking. I don't like that. I want it to come to a system where it's very optimized. So we're working on that, and it's all going to be inclusive in Q1. And when I talk about the third party, I'm talking about third party mobile applications now, not third party individuals. So they are integrating. I know that there are a couple of them who run tech startups, migrants in some countries and other stuff. Who have local commercial remittance accounts. I know your name was trying Vesti or something. I know it's the UK, and I know that they do those kind of, they can help do those transactions. So we're working, with those ones for now. We can still, our plugins can work with them. But when it comes to the ones you can do freely using very global, systems that like PayPal, like I mentioned earlier, that would be in the Q1 of 2023.
Okay. Fantastic. That 100% answers it. Because my thought when you say third party, I thought you meant a trusted individual.
No.
Like
This they are
business trusted individuals.
no.
My fault,
Yeah.
So yeah, that really helps. I mean,
Thank you.
I have a lot of the questions I had picked from what people would answer have been answered in the process, and we still have another five-ish 10 minutes, and I just want to pick your brain on this.
Okay, ma'am.
What is your projection for 2023, economic projection? What areas should people be investing? What should we be looking at? What should we do differently? Especially people from our part of the world in Nigeria. And if you have a global perspective, it's also welcome. Looks like his line is breaking, but let's give it a minute.
Am I still here? Am I helping?
Now you're here.
I think
Thank you for a second, but we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So yes, I'm going to take this from a global perspective, and it's been my instrument as an entrepreneur for a very long time. 2023, a lot of things would happen when it comes to some of the indicators that we're seeing now. When it comes to Africa, we're seeing a growing digital population. They're not growing digitally because they're just having access to smartphones. It's because they're getting more comfortable with it. There's the era of growing to become having access to the internet. Many of our cities still don't have, and that one is even a huge potential for the future. But in 2023, what we're going to be having is a lot more people are going to be comfortable doing transactions online. But here I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to look at it from a global angle. 4 things. Number 1 is just using the Maslow hierarchy of need. Sectors that has to do with food, clothing, shelter, and security. Whether it's 2023, 2037, 2050, there are sectors that you should look out from. So I'm even saying this because I'm speaking to a global audience. So whether you're doing this, in Africa, in Northern Africa, whether you're in UK, in the US, you're in Canada, in Bangladesh, always look at those 4 sectors every year in, year out. They don't change. It's the basic. You just need to look for what will I be doing differently and which size of that market can I take. It's a huge market. Clothing, food, shelter, and security. I want to add one more, but I don't have a lot of reservations for it. Is transportation. Transportation to it, these are great sectors. But when it comes to Africa, which is my continent, what are the indicators that I'm seeing? Number 1 is that we're having a growing digital population, meaning that problems that has to do with African that you're trying to solve, you would do well if you're trying to solve them from a digitized point of view. That's very important. In 2023, what else that we're seeing again is that we're going to see a lot of the young population begin to create more opportunities for themselves. An average, it was not there before. An average young person, even though wants to leave the country, still wants to do things with the country. Meaning that people are looking back. I recently reading some of the reports that came in, and I think we did is it 14 billion now or 24 billion? I can't get the data right of remittance, diaspora remittance back into the country. So it's also a sector that you want to look into. What can I do? Yeah, sorry, 26 billion. I remember. What can I do to take a fraction, even if it's the 1% of that market, in terms of what services can I provide for diasporans who are looking back into their country? In most cases, we need to look at what can we do for people outside of the country. Now, those of us who are outside of the country, what can I do for people who are outside the country who are trying to do something back home? People are always, sending something home. Something within that value chain is also a sector to look into. Therefore, real estate, which is, majorly, what's going to be happening is that the average income of the young, that's both the Gen Z and millennial Nigerians, because now especially those who are working in technology space, they now have access to earning in currencies that have higher margins, meaning that they will begin to, they have started looking, which Hello? Am I audible now? Sorry, I had to transition to my mobile. Okay, I had to transition to my mobile, even though it's hard for me to hear you back. I know we're
Okay, so we can you is that the loudest volume?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my laptop went off.
Sorry.
Yeah, let me just speak from here. So I was wrapping up on the opportunities, and I think I've mentioned a few. So when it comes to African, the young population, the millennials and the Gen Z now have access to working in global organizations while are still at home. So they have a lot of cash in their hands. And many of them, the education, financial education is a lot right now. The people are looking to diversify, even if they just want to earn from it, because they seem to have a lot. And financial education on how to be smart with their funds is now there. So that population is not populations that want to own assets so that they can have something in their will. That was also in the older generation. This one wants to have it to make money. They want to have it as a form of store of value. And for those of us in real estate, we'll begin to take that population, because they're beginning to grow. In about 3 years' time, they're going to mature. But that's the starting point. Someone just asked, I saw a question about the website address for my abode. It's myabode.app. 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 And also to wrap this up,
you can please add that website to the stream so people can see and copy.
Okay, great. myabode.app. Also, right now, I know it's law in law, especially for Nigerians in diaspora. This December, one of our senior friends, gave us 2 million naira to share to our clients as part of his support for the business. So for every of our subscribers now, we're giving them a fraction of that, since we're promoting a fractional community. For us, the future is that the time would come that we will be able together as a community acquire assets. Assets like a Boeing airline. We could acquire assets like a huge shopping mall somewhere in Nairobi or somewhere in Rwanda or somewhere in Kigali. That's how huge, but we're going to start small. And it's our numbers that will make the difference. We would build airports that will be making, but we're going to start small. We're going to start from this, small vacant lands, but that's how huge we want to be. It's a Pan-African movement that we will build up infrastructures that would add economic value and also add economic value to our nation and to us. And that's the journey, but we're starting small. Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, great. So, yeah, that's it.
She just appeared in front of me.
Okay, I get it. So I know that we still have the other speaker, and I don't want to take a lot into our time. I hope I've been able to add value to us today. I'm open for further conversations. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm very active there. Damilare Oshokoya. Always open. We can do things together. I wish you all the very best again, Fiji and your team, for putting this amazing thing together. I love you, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Sorry for the inconvenience, but thank you for making it happen in spite of that. And for everyone who signed up already, we are going to give them all the details. But we'll also put on the stream his Instagram. You want to follow him, you want to learn from him, and we will let you go. Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Take care. Wow.
Jerusalem, Ikayalami, Gilondoloze, Ambenami, Zungangishilana, Jerusalem, Ikayalami, Gilondoloze, Ambenami, Zungangishilana. I'm not perfect, I came from ruthless times as a juvenile. Ilondoloze, Zungangishilana. Look into my eyes, see pain and sacrifice. What goes on my mind, just trying to survive. Ilondoloze, Zungangishilana. Tomaka emo wuru, oti wuru si wuru. Emi won wa mi ni gboro, toju ko oju o. Ni ẹni teji soro, time si mi solo. Láti ìkọ̀rọ̀ sí gboro, down to Ìkòròdú o.
Dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana.
Awesome, everybody. Thank you. Everybody say thank you. I appreciate it. It's like I said, it's what I'm passionate about. I want to democratize information. I don't like the idea that some people keep information to themselves and it's like it's ours. No, let people learn, and then what they do after that, right? What they do with it is up to them. So I just said, I told them, stop that music, stop all the partying. Let's get back, because some people think we are done, but we are not done. We are done with one part. That's the investment part. We are now going into the other part with Mr. Mills, and thank you, Juliet. And I hope you have your writing materials. I hope you're all ready to go. I'm going to bring our second guest speaker on, and I told him I'm going to play Nigerian music. So I don't know if we will play Buga for him to dance for us. I don't know, but I hope you're ready. If I can have the profile for the next speaker, please. Thank you. So Mr. Brian O. Mills, he's a multi-talented entrepreneur. He's the executive director at Mark Athletics, a basketball outfit that has sent many talented young stars to colleges across the country on sports scholarships. He has also helped numerous young people fulfill their MBA dreams. I love it. Among his many business interests is his role as a mortgage originator, where he helps aspiring homeowners to achieve their homeownership goals. So whether that's helping them achieve a better financial position or connecting them to the home of their dreams, Brant is all about guiding you to the finish line. So leveraging his decade and a half. I put decade long when I was writing this out, putting this together, but it's over a decade. So it's almost 2 decades of long experience in the real estate and mortgage industry. Brant will be sharing with us all the juicy little bits, little known secrets that can help you fulfill your home ownership goals in the coming year. his bio says it all, guys. But this afternoon for me and night for some of you, I'm excited and charged to introduce you to Mr. Brand. And we'll be spending the next 45 minutes in conversation with him. Welcome, Brand. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
Very well, very well. Thank you again for doing this. We're excited to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. I was telling them when Damilare was on, and before I even say that, let me just say that you realize people with like interest seem to flow together. I told you I didn't know Damilare before, but somehow the universe, God, qualities just connects people of like minds, people that have the same goals. Same thing here with Mr. Mills. You can see and I'm speaking of the impact he made in other fields aside from this, but that's a story for another day. I already told him we're booking you for 2 sessions. So this is just part 1. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you a couple of questions. Can you tell us what your background is? How did you get into this line of business? And finally, on this note, why are you not dealing with the rich? Why are you wasting your time trying to help people who have issues assessing mortgage? I would have thought let me just go with the people who have a lot of wealth. What is it that makes you passionate enough to want to help those that really need help?
Okay. Well, I'll start off what got me into this business. It was probably about 15, 20 years ago. I was actually helping my mom with a refinance, and she was having a hard time understanding this. So when I went to the office with her, I was able to explain all the things to her. And the person at that particular time at that branch was like, "You're really good with numbers. Had you ever thought about getting into this business?" At that particular time, I was in transition, looking to do something different. So I looked to get into the mortgage business. I was very good with numbers, and I always wanted to help people in another different kind of way because I have an insurance background as well. That's how I kind of got into the business. But once I got into the business, I wanted to find out a niche. Everybody wanted to help everybody with 20% down and 800 credit scores and who had tons of money in the bank. But there were a few banks and lenders that would deal with people with credit challenges who didn't have very much money, or they just didn't know what to do. I always love a challenge. So I always like to help the underdog. So that was my niche. That's my market. That's what I kind of specialize in. And that's what leads me here today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm now going to let you go ahead. So guys, for this session, it's a little different from Mr. Oshokoya's session because this is so technical and it requires, for some people, they're coming into this with zero knowledge and we need to have a foundation. So Mr. Mills generously put together a presentation. So he's going to first educate us. So if you're ready for your master class, I told you get your writing materials. I have this massive note I'm using here, and I seriously am learning from these things. Many times I tell people I do not bring anyone to speak with you that I would not be a student under. So it's not just it's not vibe, it's not show. These things really change people's lives, and I think it will change your lives today. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Mr. Mills, and then he's going to go ahead and do some education. But if you have any questions as he's going along, please write them down. At the end of the session, we're going to take a few questions and have maybe a few 15 minutes conversation with him before we let him go. All right, Brian, over to you.
Okay. Great. Let me see if I can bring this up on the screen here. Let's see. Okay, great. So one of the things I tried to do is I just wanted to jot down a few things that over my time in the industry that people have asked questions or they've had misunderstandings on. So let's go over here. This is just a little bit about myself. I've been in the business for over 15 years. I'm a mortgage banker. I was a real estate investor. I've been a corporate trainer. I've constantly been a $1 million producer. And as well, I'm a homeowner as well. So I understand what people are going through when they're trying to get a home. Some of the things that we're going to cover is the mortgage loan components. Some of the things that I don't want you to do, like self-diagnose your credit. We're going to talk about some of the steps to home ownership. We'll talk about the pre-approval process, the home search, real estate and mortgage terminologies. We'll talk about some attorney review periods, the do nots, and then CTC. We'll learn what that means a little bit later. Okay, so in my opinion in this industry, there are 3 mortgage loan components. that you need in order to get a home loan. One being credit, the second being income, the third being assets. Those are all the things that banks look for when you're trying to get a mortgage. What I always tell my clients is you have to have at least two of those three, and I can get you done. You can be missing one, but you got to have at least two of the three, and I can get almost anybody done for a mortgage here. All right. A lot of people come to me and they say, well, I've got to wait. I've got to build up my credit. I've got to save more money. And I always tell them, don't self-diagnose yourself. There are a lot of different mortgage programs out there, and mortgages are like puzzles. I always tell people, give me all the pieces to your puzzles and allow me to figure out how to put this together for you. We do loans with people with scores as low as 550. We have people with collections and medical bills. They can remain unpaid. You don't have to pay those off. I have a lot of people that try to run and pay these things off. That actually can hurt your credit. So we talked to you about that. Some people say, well, I don't have enough money saved yet. There's a lot of different down payment assistance programs that may be available for you to assist you within getting the mortgage. Some people say, well, I haven't been on my job a long time. That's okay. We can do loans if you have a short-term job history. And then some people can't prove their income. They have alternative income. We have programs for that as well. All right. So some of the steps, and I've kind of narrowed it down to 7, the steps to home ownership. First of all, you have to make a decision that you're ready to buy a home. Number 2, you need to get pre-approved for a mortgage before you start shopping for a home. Number 3, you'll find a realtor. After you find your realtor, you'll begin your home search. Once you do your search for a home and you find a home that you like, you want to make an offer. Number 6, you want to do your due diligence. And then last, we close on your new home. All right, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Hold on one second. All right, give me 1 second. It's not coming up on my side here. All right, so first thing that you need to do when you're trying to get pre-approved for a mortgage, you have to complete a mortgage loan application. And now we kind of do that online. You can either do it yourself, or you can talk to me directly online. We're going to take some personal information from you. We'll take some of your income information. We'll talk about your assets. Second thing that we'll do is we're going to run what we call a tri-merge credit report, where there's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Each one will have a different score. And some of the misconceptions that a lot of people say is, well, I checked my credit on Credit Karma, or I checked it on my Capital One credit card. Those scores are different than mortgage scores. A lot of people don't realize, there are mortgage scores, there are credit card scores, and there are automobile scores. We're going to use the scores that are for mortgages. And what banks do is they don't use your highest score. They don't use your lowest score. They're going to use the score that's in the middle. We're going to ask you to provide us with some documentation depending on your situation, but that could include W-2s, tax returns, paycheck stubs, bank statements, a picture ID, and some other ancillary documents that we'll need from you. When getting a mortgage, it's almost like similar to getting a credit card. We run what we call an automated underwriting system. And what we're looking for that system to give us is an approved eligible based on the information that we've put into the system. Even if you don't get it approved eligible through the system, doesn't mean that you're not going to be approved. It just means a live person, a live underwriter needs to review your documents because the computer couldn't determine if you were approved or not. Once we get you approved, we'll issue you what we call a pre-approval certificate. That's like a blank check. Now that tells you exactly what you're approved for. It allows you to go out and start shopping for your home. And most owners won't show you a property unless you've already been approved through a bank. All right. Moving right along. Now, when you start the home search, and once you find a house that you like, you're going to put in a real estate offer. Typically, it'll be a contract that your agent will write up saying what you're offering, what you're willing to pay, when you'd like to close. Once that offer has been accepted, most sellers are going to want to have earnest money, where they're going to want you to put up a certain dollar amount, whether it be $500 or $1,000. That money gets credited back to you at closing. It's just showing that you are truly interested in buying their property. They're going to take it off the market, and this is a portion of your down payment that you're going to give to them upfront. Okay, let's talk about the attorney review period. Once you've found a property and your offer has been accepted and you've given them earnest money, now you want to talk to your attorney because they're going to review the contract. They're going to talk about a property inspection. And there's a certain amount of attorney review period that's allowed in every contract, whether it be 5 days or 7 days, that you can get out of the contract for any reason if it doesn't pass the attorney review period. This is to protect you in case there's something on the contract that the attorney doesn't like, they want it reworded. They're here to protect you. All right. Once you've passed the attorney review period, what you want to do now is you want to revisit back with your lender. Here's the reason why. We need a copy of that sales contract. We're going to have you sign some loan disclosures. And one of the misconceptions is when they sign those loan disclosures, oh, I'm on the hook for this loan. No, these are strictly disclosures that we're telling you in regards to the loan process. It does not obligate you to the loan or anything. It's just giving you disclosures on what's going to happen from here. We're going to ask you to provide us with updated bank statements, paycheck stubs. At that time, you'll pay for an appraisal on the property because we want to make sure that the property that you're buying is worth at least what you're paying for the property. You'll set up homeowners insurance. Once we have all that information, I'll be submitting your file to underwriting for what we call our clear to close. That's where they've reviewed all your documentation. They're okay with it. Then they give us a clear to close. You'll hear that terminology a lot in the real estate industry, CTC. So now you understand what it stands for. Some of the things not to do. Don't apply for any new credit once we start this process. That could lower your scores. Don't switch jobs. Don't stop paying your bills. And don't make any large deposits inside of your bank account that you can't explain. If there's large deposits in there, we have to show where those funds came from and we have to source them. All right. Once all that's done and the underwriting's reviewed your file and everything is satisfactory, they'll issue our clear to close. And then we would get with both attorneys and we'd schedule the closing for you. And right there in a nutshell is the way to home ownership. And that's pretty much it. It's just that simple there. It's like I said, let us do the work for you. Just provide us with all the information and we can definitely get you into a home.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Mills. That sounded very easy.
It's actually as easy as that. A lot of people think it's nerve-wracking and it's very difficult. It's actually not. We try to hold your hand through the entire process, walk you through. One thing I try to do with my team is keep you informed on every step of the way so you know what to expect next.
That will be helpful.
Yep.
Because I mean, there are times I go to some parts of Illinois and the accents, even communicating with them is a challenge. I'm like, what on earth are you saying? And then I have to repeat myself. They have to repeat themselves. So having that guide would really be helpful. I think we have a question from the audience. I think we can start with before I.
How many years do I need to prepare and plan to start the home buying process? It doesn't have to be years. You just have to make up your mind that you're ready to go. We get people pre-approved within 24 to 48 hours. The way we kind of start that is we'll have a conversation. I'll have a conversation with you, try to see exactly what you're trying to accomplish. From that conversation, I'm going to let you know what documentation I need. Once you supply me with your documentation, within 48 hours, I will have an approval back for you. So it's not years of preparation. It's literally having that first conversation.
Sorry, you saw me talking, but it wasn't coming out.
Okay.
Communicating with my children.
Okay.
So are you done with that? All done with that question?
Yes, all done with that one there.
Jean, I hope that helped. And then I'm going to shoot, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in your chat box, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. And we already compiled certain questions, so I'm going to also go into those. So the first question is, how many years of consistent work experience do I need to show to qualify for a mortgage?
Okay, we like to see a 2-year work history. We do understand that sometimes it's not consecutive. So that's okay. If you've had a break in employment, you were unemployed, or you've switched companies, that's okay. I will just have to piece together a 2-year history. Unless you're fresh out of college, we count college as work history as well too. So there's a lot of different ways to get around the work history of having 2 years, but typically they want to see 2 years.
Thank you for that. So the 2 years doesn't have to be consistent, even if there are breaks in between, but overall I've got over 2 years.
Exactly. So anything that, like, if it's not 2 years, we just have to explain why it was not consecutive. So there's a lot of different ways that we can get around that. But typically in the standard programs, banks are going to want to see a 2-year history, but they'll understand if it's not consecutive, we can just explain that, but we will still give them a 2-year history altogether.
Okay, so follow up on that. Well, does it have to be work, like salaried pay, or just income? If I'm self-employed, if I'm,
income, whether it's self-employed income. Self-employed income, they're going to want to see a couple years of being self-employed. It can be commission income. Um, it can be any source of income. It can be Social Security. It could be child support. We can use any income that you can prove.
Fantastic. Thank you. So I have this question that looks complicated, but I'm going to ask it because the audience sent it.
Sure.
It says, how much more will it cost me to buy a home with a 600 credit compared to someone with a 700 credit score?
That's a great question. I get that question a lot. Now, I'm going to give you an answer, and you're probably not going to believe me. There are some programs that we do out there. As long as you get approved, whether you have a 600 score or an 800 score, you get the same rate.
I am shocked.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's what I said. There's a lot of different programs. Now, sure, there are some programs out there that rates are based on your credit score, but a lot of the programs that we do now, as long as you get approved, you get the same rate as someone with an 800 score versus someone with a 600 score, as long as you have an approval.
So there is justice in America.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You just have to follow with the right people that know all the ins and outs.
Wow. Ignorance is expensive, because there are a ton of people I know who are just so educated. They feel like, no, it's going to cost too much. Because they don't know they have these options, right? I mean, thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Next question, guys. We have a ton of questions. So I'm just going to shoot for as much time as we have, Brian. So don't think I'm in a hurry. These videos are going to be available on Facebook and on YouTube and LinkedIn, really. So we are streaming on those platforms, and we are leaving the videos. We're not going to take it down and sell. So it's yours. You can go back to it later. So let's just get as much value now that we have him free of charge. Next question. This is important to my immigrants community. Do I need to be a citizen or a green card holder to access a mortgage? If I'm on a valid business visa, a student visa, or a work visa, will I have the same access as others?
Yes, you can. We can still do loans for people who are not citizens of the United States. We have special programs for that. So the answer is yes.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. I think at the end of this session, you guys just have to maybe put some money together and pay me for this information, because no one tells you these things. Okay, next question. Is there an advantage to putting down 20% down, putting a 20% down payment versus a higher percentage? For example, if I have the funds, would you advise me to put down as much as even 50%? Will it save anything on the cost of the mortgage? Because I need to know if it won't, then I can use the money for other things.
Okay. I think I understand the question, and I'm going to try to answer it the best that I can here. Typically, people put down 20% because they're trying to avoid what they call mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is where when you put less than 20% down, the bank will insure the loan in case you should default on it, but they make you pay for the insurance. Okay. But if you put less than 20% down, correct. Okay. But if you put 20% down, the bank does not have to insure the loan for default, and that saves you money off of your mortgage payments. Now, is there a difference in putting more down than the 20%? If you're not putting a substantial amount down, I would say keep that money in the bank and gain the interest on it instead of putting it in the inside of the mortgage. I wouldn't recommend putting more than 20% down unless you're trying to put down a substantial amount and get your payments to a certain level. That's the only time I ever see people who want to put down additional funds, if they're trying to get their payments to a certain dollar amount. It's not going to save you any more money off of the mortgage insurance or interest rate or anything like that. No.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question because I know you're a financial expert as well.
Okay.
So are there asset classes, are there investments that would yield more? You know, if I put for example, I have an extra 20%, but rather than putting down 40%, if I kept that 20%, are there opportunities you think that would yield more interest than I'm saving on the cost of the what's the mortgage interest rate now?
So you're saying, are there other investments that you can participate in that would?
I'm not saying least. I'm just saying, like, is it worth it? Like, if I'm going to save on the cost, reduce the mortgage on my, reduce the cost of the mortgage.
Well,
down.
Here's what I typically do, because I get that from a lot of my clients. We run an analysis. So if they say to me, Brian, I've got an extra $50,000, what's that going to do to my mortgage payment? How much am I going to save annually by putting that down? So what we do is we work with them and say, great, you're going to save $40 a month. You're going to save $500 a year. Is it worth you giving me 50,000 just to save $500 a month? How many years is it going to take you to recoup your $50,000? So that's one thing that we look at on a case by case basis.
You have everything thought out, don't you?
I try.
Thank you very much for that question. I have another question here that looks complicated, but I'm going to read it because I promised them I will. Considering the impact of credit on the cost. Did I read that already? Well, let me read it. It's a different question, so let's see if it's something different. Considering the impact of credit on the cost of a mortgage, what is your best advice? Buy now with my 650 credits and refinance later, or take another year minimum to build my credit before I consider buying a home? I think your answer will be similar, but
okay. My opinion is it's always a great time to buy. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the industry. It's what's the alternative? Rent and pay someone else mortgage? My thing is you can always buy now. And like I said, in most of the programs that we're doing now, you get the same rate as someone with a 750 score, even if you have a 650 score. But like I said, even if rates are higher now, it's still better than the alternative renting. And sure, you can always refinance it later if rates should go down. Absolutely. It's always a great time to buy.
So you always have that option.
Correct. And one of
a little more.
Yeah.
You had to say.
Let me say this here too. This is a misconception that a lot of people have now, and I get this every day. Rates are extremely high right now, Brian. And here's what I tell all my customers. No, they're not. They're just back to normal. We got spoiled during the COVID area when rates dropped extremely low. That was not normal. Where the rates are at now, this is the normal market here. Will they go back down that low again? Who knows? We don't know. So if you're going to sit up here and plan, I'm going to wait a year to the rates go back down. There's no guarantee that they will. They may go higher than now. Like I said, so rates right now are the normal rates. We got spoiled, a couple of years ago because of COVID.
Awesome. Thank you. There's a question from the audience I'll let you take.
Okay. Explain a little bit more on refinancing. So refinancing means you've gotten your mortgage, you've been in your house for a while, you want to refinance for a few different reasons. You can refinance to pull equity out of your property to use for something else, or you can refinance to just lower your interest rate, which will lower your payments. Or you can change the term of your loan. Maybe you originally took it out for 20 years, now you want to take it out for 15 years, or maybe for 10 years. So refinancing is just changing the terms of your existing mortgage.
Thank you. Changing the terms of your existing mortgage. Thank you for that. I still have a couple of questions that we had pre-collected. So those of you in the live audience, you have the opportunity to take or ask follow-up questions on anything. But I'm going to continue with this. How do I qualify for the first-time home buyer program?
I love that question all the time because there's so many misconceptions about that. So I'm going to tell you the answer to that question. So a lot of people come to me and says, I'm a first-time home buyer. I deserve something. Let me explain to you what the first-time home buyers program is. It does not mean money. It means they're going to relax the guidelines for you. They're going to make it easier for you to get into a home. Typically, they want over a 700 score, but because you're a first-time home buyer, they'll let you qualify with a 580. They typically want 20% down, but because you're a first-time home buyer, they'll let you put 3.5% down. So there are just certain qualifications that they're going to relax because you are a first-time home buyer to help you get into a home. The misconception is most people think that they're going to get down payment money. That's a total different program. That's considered a down payment assistance program, which you can qualify as a first-time home buyer, but it's not necessarily guaranteed. There are some requirements that you have to meet in order to get those funds. But one of the things that I do too is on every new applicant I work with, they don't have to ask me to look at that program for them. We look at that on every application that we take in. Do they qualify for down payment assistance? Do they qualify for closing cost assistance? So that's one thing that we're going to come back to the table with you based on after we've taken your application. I'll come back and say, you've been approved for this amount. This is how much down payment I can get you. This is how much closing cost assistance I can give you. This is potentially where your interest rate is going to be. So you'll know everything up front.
Awesome. So follow up on this. Can you speak a little more to maybe give us a scenario. I don't know how you want to answer this, but in terms of down payment assistance, what is possible if I don't have 20%? What percentage should I have to dare?
Sure.
You know,
Well, here's the thing. When you're getting a home now, the least down payment typically in most programs they want is 3.5%, okay, of whatever the sales price is. So I always tell people there are two things that you're responsible for when you're buying a house. There's your down payment, let's say that's 3.5%, and then there's closing costs. So there are costs that are associated with purchasing a home. Closing costs will range anywhere from 3 to 5% of the sales price. So a good round number to always go off of is between 6 to 7% is what you're going to need to have to purchase the home. Now, with the down payment assistance, based on your criteria, we can almost get you up to 5% of the sales price to use towards down payment and closing costs. So with that being said, if we say that you need 7% and I get you 5% in the down payment assistance program, that leaves you with only 2% out of your own pocket. And we've had some people actually come to the closing table with no money down.
okay, just so that I understand better, can you use figures? If I was going to buy a home that costs, let's say, $1 million.
Sure. I got some numbers here for you.
7% has been so stuck. When you're playing around with 5 and 7%, I don't understand it. I'm
Okay.
like, are we all on the same plane or we are talking from different tangents? I need to understand that.
Okay.
And so use any flat figure, 100,000, whatever. Let's just have
Sure.
figures.
Let's use $100,000. If you were going to buy a house for $100,000 and your down payment is 3.5%, that means you need $3,500 as a down payment. And if your closing costs, let's say that's another 4%. So that's $4,000. So in total, what did we say? 3,500 plus 4,000. So you need $7,500 total for down payment and closing costs. Now, on that same $100,000 loan, if we're able to get you 5% closing cost credit, that'll be $5,000. You would only need the additional $2,500 out of your own pocket to come to the closing table.
Wow.
And depending on what state and county that you're buying in, there'll be some other credits that will be allowed to the borrower, like tax credits, which may eat into that $2,500, and you may not need any funds back at closing, just depending on where you're purchasing and what the real estate taxes are.
Okay, let me ask another question, follow up on that. Does the location you're buying impact your access to these things? Will they want to, because you're getting so many assistants, will they want to compel you to go buy in areas you may not like? Maybe I like a Nepaville, maybe I like a Plainfield. Will they say, oh, because you're getting so much assistance, let's just kick her to the west side?
It's wherever you want to live. You can get, if you qualify for the down payment assistance, you can get the program regardless of where you're going to live. Now, with the down payment assistance program, like I said, there are some guidelines that we have to follow, but here's the one thing that people need to understand too. There are tons of down payment assistance programs. It's just my job to figure out which one you qualify for. Some of them do have credit score requirements. Some of them have income requirements where you can't make too much money. Some of them give you extra incentives if you are in certain areas, but they will not decline you because you're in a certain area, but you may get an additional assistance if you're in certain areas.
Thank you. That makes a ton of sense. A couple more questions from here. Let me see. There are no questions from the audience. Okay. Okay, I think you mentioned this before, but then do I have to pay off collections? What score do I need to be approved? Let me just put those two together.
The minimum score to get approved is 550. As long as you have a 550 or higher credit score, we can get you approved for a mortgage. In regards to paying off collections, you do not necessarily have to pay off collections. It just depends on what type of collection it is. If it's something that could eventually become a lien on the title, we may have to visit that and pay that off at closing, but no. Typically with medical collections, we don't have to have those paid off. Older collections, we do not have to pay those off. And like I said, and I always tell people, talk to me first before you pay off anything, because paying off collections or paying off things on your account actually can have a negative effect on your credit score. A lot of people don't understand this here. Your credit score likes consistency. So even though you've got collections on your account, your credit has been consistent. As soon as you change anything, even if it's for the better, you pay off everything. That's a change in your credit. Your scores will drop first before they go up. So I always tell people, do nothing until we actually look at your credit. And believe it or not, 90% of the people I deal with, I look at their credit and there's nothing that they need to do. And they thought they needed to pay off tons of things and I got too much debt, and they actually don't. That's what I say. Give us the pieces to your puzzle. Let us put it together for you.
Wow. That's mind blowing, especially that credit thing. I think you need to. One more question. But then before I even ask the question, I just want you to tell us a little more about how you work with people, because that is one of the key reasons why we are doing this. The people who need guidance and they want to know that you're, even though I've recommended, but that's what exactly do you do with people? You can give a scenario however you want to, but run us through what the process is. What do you do with them? What do you do for them? What have you done working with people that, change the things in their favor?
Well, here's one thing that I tell everybody that I speak to, especially when they're on the fence, if they're ready to buy, if they're in a position. I always tell people one or two things are going to happen by having just a conversation with me, a little 10 to 15-minute conversation. Either you're going to find out that you're ready right now and you can be approved right now, or you're going to find out what you need to do to become approved. So no matter what, it's going to be a win-win situation for you. I work with people that are ready to buy right now. They're buying in the next 30 to 60 days. Or I work with those people also that need 5 to 6 months to correct some things on credit or get some things corrected in regards to income, where I stay in contact with them. I guide them through the way. So like I said, I work with a variety of different clientele.
Awesome. Now I'm going to, we did a test group. We asked 17 families and individuals what has stopped them from owning homes so far.
Okay.
I want you to read the 5 pointers we got, the 5 responses we got, and then I want you to use the next 3 to 5 minutes that we have to give us a summary, maybe 3 minutes, because we still want you to tell us how to contact you and all that.
Sure.
To just, in a nutshell, address those issues, because a lot of people, I think, it's issues of confidence, but I'm just going to go through the collation of our feedback from the test group. Number 1, with the credits less than 700, the cost of the mortgage will be so high, it's not even worth it compared to renting, the cost of renting. Number 2, I did not have a long enough consistent work history to qualify for mortgage. Well, number 3, I have worked as an independent contractor or business owner, and banks are not comfortable lending to people who do not have stable and salaried income. Number 4, I have fairly reasonable credit, which is 680, but my credit history is too short. Only 4 years. No lender will be comfortable with a short credit history. And finally, somebody said number 3 is her issue. Finally, I do not have the required 20% down payment. The area I'm looking to buy all cost over $700,000. So just, address these issues in any way, and what would you say to those people if you're meeting them in person?
Number 1 again. Give me number 1 and I'll do them one at a time for you.
Okay. With the credit score less than 700, the cost of the mortgage will be so high, it's not worth it. I'd rather rent.
That is a fable. Remember we talked about, as long as you can be approved for the mortgage, whatever the going interest rate is at that particular time, you will be able to obtain that rate. Regardless if you have a 700 or a 580 score, you're going to be able to obtain whatever the going rate is at that particular time.
Yes, I remember you did address that. Number 2, I do not have a long enough consistent work history to qualify for mortgage.
Okay. Remember we talked about the 3 components of getting a mortgage: income, assets, and we also talked about credit. So remember, even if you're down on one of those 3, as long as you have the other 2, we can still get you approved for a mortgage. So even if there's something, are we going back to that one? Let's go back to that. One more. Let's keep going. Right there. So great. So even if you've got some income problems, let's say that we can't get around that. If you've got credit and you've got assets, we can still get you approved for the mortgage. So even with the income being an issue, that will not stop you from qualifying for a mortgage.
Awesome. So 2 out of 3
Correct.
Increases your chances as well.
Yes.
The 3rd thing, I have worked as an independent contractor, business owner, and I heard that banks are only comfortable lending to people who have stable and salaried income.
Absolutely not true. I deal with so many self-employed borrowers, 1099 borrowers. They have different qualifications and different documents that I'm going to need from them, but we can get them done as well too, even if they're not salaried employee or they're not W-2 employees, they can still be done as well too.
Thank you for that clarification because that's really important. The fourth thing here is I have fairly reasonable credit, about 680. My credit history is too short. It's only 4 years, and I do not think lenders will be comfortable with the short credit history.
Not true. Getting a mortgage, primarily, the first thing that they're looking for is, and like I said, it goes through this automated system, is the scores. The scores are a big thing. When you're going through the automated underwriting system, they're looking for a certain score. If you have that score, you can still be approved with that, even though you have what you consider to be a short credit history.
Awesome. Finally, I do not have the required 20% down payment. The area I'm looking to buy all cost over 700,000.
You do not need the 20% down. So you can buy that home with less than 20% down. Now, sure, there'll be some other factors determining if you're going to need 3% or 5%, but you can definitely qualify for that home less than 20% down.
Okay. And one follow-up question does this service you offer, does it have to do only with home ownership, or can also buy like an investment property, like a block of 6 flats and live in one of them? Is that also covered?
Here's what I do. I do all residential lending. So anything that's 4 units or less. So yes, can you buy investment properties? Yes, as long as it's 4 units or less. Anything above 4 units is going to be considered commercial. So that's a total different animal in itself. But yes, you can buy investment properties, whether they be 3 units, 2 units. You can even buy a single family and use it as an investment as well. So we do both sides of those spectrums.
4 units and less.
4 units or less, correct.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you, Brian. We ran through the questions.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a couple of minutes that we have left to just, if there are any conclusions you need to draw, any things you need to address, but very importantly, who want to know how to reach you, how can they, if they need to work with you, what's the best?
Sure. Can you pull up that last slide? It's going to have my contact information. There's a couple different ways. There's a couple different ways you can reach me. Okay, so what I've done is I've listed my email address, bryant@boldsignatures.com, or you can reach me on my personal line at 224-775-2495. You can text or call. I'm available 7 days a week. There's no question too small, no question too big. Feel free to ask any questions you need. I always tell people, use me as a resource. You know, if you just have questions and maybe you're not ready yet, but use me and I can typically get you the answer to any question that you have.
Okay, Brian, guys, I'm going to let you take screenshots of that. And if you did sign up originally for the event, we'll collect this information and then we will send it to you via email. Now, thank you note to you. And then, okay, you already took it over. So guys, I think questions are answered. Our goal was a 90-minute event. We're at about an hour 36 minutes now. But Bryant, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to just give a closing address for people who have deferred and 2023 is here. What would you say to them?
I'm going to go back to that saying that I said, that it's always a great time to buy a home. Don't let anyone say anything or discourage you. Sure, there are maybe banks out there that don't want to work with you because of your credit scores. My bank and my team that I work with, we work with all borrowers with high credit scores, low credit scores, a lot of down payment, very little down payment. Our job is to help as many people as we can get into homes with very little to no money down. I enjoy doing this. Like I said, we're open, we're honest. We don't charge anything for this service. We're actually paid directly by the banks when we get the loans approved. So you don't have to worry about what's your fee going to be. There is no charge to you for our services. We don't get compensated unless we get you into a home. So we have a reason that we really want to help you, because that's how we earn a living. That's how we're compensated, by helping you, fulfill your dream.
Awesome.
Thank
you so much, Brian.
I'm sorry I missed this.
Well, it will be live on YouTube and we'll have it
Okay, that's
back. Yeah.
That's fine.
Quick summary. First of all, thank you for coming. This has been a lot, very resourceful. We are rounding this off, but we're not going to let Brian go except he dances to some Nigerian music. How many of you agree to that? I have a vote here, but guys, thank you for joining. You have Brian's details. If you, those of you who already know me personally, or my Facebook page, he's also on Facebook. So connect on Facebook, connect on, I think just Facebook, right, Brian?
No, you can actually reach me on all social media platforms, Brian O. Mills, on all platforms.
Same name, Brian O. Mills.
Correct.
And then you've got his phone number, you've got his email, all the good stuff. We are now going to let everyone go. Guys, one last favor. I need feedback. How was the event? What did you like about it? What topic would you want to hear about next? What experts should we bring to you? Okay. And with that, Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we'll be reaching out to you.
All right. Take care.
All right, guys. Thank you. And this brings us to the end of our stream, guys.
Jerusalem, Ikayalami, Gilondoloze, Ambenami, Zungangishilana, Jerusalem, Ikayalami.
Bye, guys. The stream has come to an end. We're just gisting here, but thank you for joining. Have a good evening. Have a good night wherever you are, or good morning if you're in Bangladesh. I saw people from Bangladesh, and they told me it's past midnight there already.
All right.
Yeah, but this brings it to an end. Stay in touch on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at Fiji Adam. On Facebook at Fiji Roslyn Adam. Until then, guys, 2023, go set goals. Go get determined to do something different. And I had a post this morning. I said the greatest problem I suffered in 2022 was fear. And fear is something I dealt with at the beginning of the year, right? But fear just doesn't go. It doesn't give up. Okay? So don't be afraid to dare big things. Don't think, I'm just going to be renting. I'm an immigrant. No, you are built for big things. And don't think you need 20 million. Some of you, the money, look, did you hear he said 2,500 for some people when they go to school? So look, the money you use for some of those things you waste, all those small money you're sending home anyhow. And I'm not saying don't send home because I don't want anybody to cost me for Christmas. But my point is this. The first speaker told us with 50,000 naira, 100,000 naira a month, you can become an investor and an owner of a rented apartment. Come on. Let's just be more conscientious. Let's be more disciplined. Let's be more conscious. Let's set higher goals. I'll see you at the top, and I'll be in touch to let you know when our next program is. Bye, guys.
Jerusalem, Ikayalami, Gilondoloze, Ambenami, Zungangishilana, Jerusalem, Ikayalami, Gilondoloze, Ambenami, Zungangishilana. I'm not perfect, I came from ruthless times as a juvenile.